The swamp breathed in the twilight, exhaling mist that clung to Laura's boots as he trudged through the murky water. His military-issue flashlight cut through the fog, illuminating twisted cypress roots and floating debris. Retired Marine Corps veteran Laura Chen had seen combat in 3 different star systems, but nothing in his training had prepared him for what awaited him in the Louisiana wetlands that evening. He'd come to the swamp following a distress signal, an old habit from his military days that he couldn't shake. The electromagnetic pulse he detected on his scanner was unlike anything terrestrial, and curiosity had gotten the better of him. As he pushed through a curtain of hanging moss, his light fell upon 3 figures lying motionless on a small island of solid ground. They were women, or at least they appeared to be. Each wore form-fitting suits that shimmered with an iridescent quality, like oil on water. But what caught Laura's attention were the fox-like ears protruding from their heads and the thick, bushy tails that curled around their bodies. His breath caught in his throat. First contact protocol flooded his mind, even though he'd been discharged 2 years ago. The first woman stirred, her amber eyes opening to fix on Laura with an intensity that made him step back. She tried to speak, but only a weak sound emerged from her lips. Laura's med scanner, another piece of gear he couldn't bear to leave behind, showed critical readings: severe dehydration, energy depletion, and traces of radiation poisoning. "Easy," Laura said, raising his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I'm here to help." The woman, her name tag read something in characters he didn't recognize, but his translator chip rendered it as Lisa, managed a nod. Her 2 companions remained unconscious. Without hesitation, Laura activated his emergency beacon, calling for his extraction vehicle. He had medical supplies in his truck, and these beings, whatever they were, needed immediate attention. Over the next hour, Laura worked with the efficiency of his military training. He administered electrolyte solutions, applied regenerative patches, and carefully monitored their vital signs. Lisa remained conscious throughout, watching him with those penetrating golden eyes. She tried to communicate several times, but the translator struggled with her language, producing only fragments. Her suit: Royal Guard, Sanctuary. As the third woman, whom his scanner identified as having the strongest life signs, began to regain consciousness, Lisa grabbed Laura's wrist with surprising strength. She pointed to the sky, her expression urgent. Laura followed her gaze and saw them, 3 sleek crafts descending through the clouds, their running lights cutting through the darkness like falling stars. "Friends or enemies?" Laura asked, though he suspected he knew the answer from the fear in Lisa's eyes. She shook her head vigorously, and that was all the confirmation he needed. Laura scooped up Lisa in his arms. She weighed almost nothing despite her height, and gestured for the other 2 to follow if they could. They stumbled after him as he crashed through the swamp, heading for the camouflage position where he'd left his hover truck. The pursuers were fast. Energy bolts sizzled through the air, vaporizing water and wood with terrifying precision. Laura's combat instincts kicked in. He laid Lisa in the truck's cargo bed, helped the other 2 inside, and activated the vehicle's stealth systems, military-grade tech he'd forgotten to return upon discharge. The chase lasted 15 minutes that felt like hours. Laura pushed the hover truck through impossible maneuvers, using every trick he'd learned piloting combat transports. The swamp became a maze of trees and water, and he knew every inch of it from months of solitary exploration. Finally, he guided the truck into a cave system he discovered weeks earlier, deep enough to mask their signatures, defensible, and stocked with supplies from his paranoid prepper phase. As the entrance sealed behind them with camouflage netting and signal dampeners, Laura finally allowed himself to breathe. That night, he tended to his unexpected guests, giving them food, water, and warmth. Lisa's translator finally synced with his systems, and she told him their story in a voice like music. They were scouts from the Vulp's sovereignty, a civilization that had been monitoring Earth for centuries. They'd been investigating unauthorized incursions in this sector when they were ambushed by a rogue faction seeking to capture them for political leverage. "You saved the crown princess," Lisa had said, gesturing to the woman with the silver-tipped tail who now slept peacefully. "And her honor guard, we owe you a life debt." Laura had waved it off, uncomfortable with the formality, just doing what's right. He gave them his bed, the only real sleeping space in his modest bunker, while he made do with a chair and his old military sleeping bag. Exhaustion claimed him quickly. Laura woke to the sensation of being watched. His eyes snapped open, and his hand instinctively reached for the pistol under his makeshift pillow, but he froze at the sight before him. His small bunker was no longer small. The space had somehow expanded, or perhaps they'd moved him while he slept. The rough concrete walls were now draped with elegant tapestries that seemed to shift and move with their own light. Advanced holographic displays showed tactical data and star charts, and surrounding his bed were 12 figures in armor that looked like it had been forged from starlight and shadow. The elite fox warriors stood at attention, their fox features proud and alert beneath helmets that resembled the heads of their animal namesakes. Each carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. They were magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. Lisa stood at the foot of his bed, now dressed in formal attire that marked her as high-ranking military. Her amber eyes sparkled with amusement at his expression. "Good morning, veteran Laura Chen," she said with a formal bow. "Allow me to properly introduce myself. I am Commander Lisa of the Royal Guard, first shield to Crown Princess Yuki of the Volp Sovereignty." The princess herself stepped forward from behind the guards. Her silver-tipped tail swished elegantly, and she wore a circlet that floated above her head, held in place by some technology Laura couldn't identify. "You saved my life and the lives of my guards," Princess Yuki said in perfect English, her voice carrying an authority that made Laura instinctively straighten despite still being in bed. "You asked for nothing in return. You protected us when you could have surrendered us to our enemies or exploited our vulnerability. Such honor is rare, even among our own people." Laura cleared his throat, acutely aware that he was still in his worn sleep shirt, and that 12 elite alien warriors were standing guard around his bed like he was the one who needed protecting. "I just did what anyone would do," he managed. "No," Lisa said firmly, a smile playing at her lips. "Most would not. We scanned your memories while you slept, with permission from your subconscious, I assure you. We know of your service, your sacrifices, your loneliness since returning to civilian life." The princess nodded. "The Volp Sovereignty has protocols for such debts. You have been granted the protection of the elite guard until such time as the debt is satisfied. You are also hereby invited to serve as a liaison between Earth and our people, should you choose to accept." Laura sat up slowly, his mind racing. A year ago, he would have thought he was having a psychotic break. Now, after months of isolation and aimlessness, this bizarre situation felt like the first real purpose he'd had since leaving the service. "The guards," he said slowly, looking at the imposing figures surrounding him. "How long do they have to?" "Until we determine you are safe from all threats," Lisa said matter-of-factly. "We detected 17 surveillance drones attempting to track us last night. We've neutralized them, but more will come. Our presence here has been noted by multiple factions, some friendly, most not." Laura rubbed his face, trying to process everything. "So I'm going to wake up to alien fox warriors guarding my bed every morning." "For the foreseeable future, yes," the princess confirmed with a regal nod. Despite himself, Laura laughed, a real laugh, the first in months. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was exactly the kind of chaos he'd been missing without realizing it. "Well," he said, throwing off his covers and standing to face them properly, "I guess we'd better establish some ground rules. And someone needs to teach me proper protocol, because I'm pretty sure rolling out of bed in front of royalty isn't the done thing." Lisa's smile widened. I believe, veteran Chen, that this is the beginning of a very interesting alliance. As the elite guards relaxed their stances slightly, and the princess laughed, a sound like bells, Laura realized that his quiet retirement was officially over. The swamp had given him back his purpose, wrapped in fox ears and impossible technology. He wouldn't have it any other way.